Hi there, and welcome. This is Spiritual Psychic Cynthia Killian, also known as Psychic Cynthia. And welcome to another one of our Tea Time in the Garden videos. And I have my cup of tea here. It's actually a little bit cold tea because it's pretty hot out here today. Anyway, today I would like to talk with you just a little bit about prosperity and your own kind of prosperity magic and something that you can think about to draw more prosperity and abundance into your life. And listen, I know that phrase prosperity and the idea of prosperity, it has many different meanings. You know, it means something different to each of us. But I do believe there is a common understanding that prosperity entails having enough, whether that is enough love, enough health, enough happiness, and yes, enough money or material comforts. And listen, just because we're spiritual folk doesn't mean that we don't want our material comforts as well. I think it's important to not get consumed by greed or materialism and to not sell your soul in the pursuit of those things, for example. But it's also important not to be a self-immolating martyr. You know, don't mutilate yourself and make yourself suffer just because you're on the spiritual path. Of course you should have prosperity and abundance. I mean, seriously, if spiritual people don't have prosperity and abundance, then what has the world come to? So it's nice if people like us on the spiritual psychic path can have an abundance of the experiences and things in life that help us to be more comfortable as we go through our experience. So anyway, I've been thinking about this topic lately, and I had a couple of clients who were inquiring about it, and one of them was a friend on Facebook through my Psychic Readings with Cynthia Facebook group, and she's in a situation, and maybe you can relate. I think a lot of us have been there. Without revealing any, personal details, I'll just say she's in a situation where she's gotten herself in a financial pickle, financial difficulties, and she is about ready to initiate bankruptcy. So she's on the verge of bankruptcy, and she is working so hard. This gal is educated and she is talented. She even has had a little bit of family wealth. So this isn't just somebody who's done nothing with her life or hasn't achieved some success already. She actually has, but whatever the circumstances were, and I don't really know. I mean, it could be that she overextended her credit levels. I mean, let's face it, that's really easy to do in our current society. It could be that she had some back taxes creep up on her that she didn't know about. That can actually be really easy to happen for some people too, especially if there has been, say, an inheritance transfer. But however it happened, first of all, if you're in that boat, okay, I hope you're not in that boat where you have to declare bankruptcy. But let's say you are, or let's say you're just really struggling a lot financially. The first thing I would like to say is, if you have to declare bankruptcy or if you're struggling financially, that doesn't make you a bad person. And I know sometimes we think that, especially if we have to declare bankruptcy. I know I wouldn't want to have to do that, but I would if I had to, if that truly was the best option. Then of course you would do that. And listen, I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm not a financial counselor or anything of that nature. So if you're thinking about doing that, you need to check with somebody who has expertise in that. What we're talking about today is the energetics of prosperity and maybe a little bit about the energetics of scarcity. So anyway, my friend who is struggling so much, who is getting ready to initiate bankruptcy, what she has said to me is that, I don't understand. I keep working overtime and doing everything I can, and I just can't seem to fix this. It's not getting better. And so let's look at that here. What's happening here, and I know her, so I know a little bit about the progression or deprogression, if you want to say, the situation. But what's happening here is she keeps working harder and harder to earn more income, which, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think work is a great thing, and there is a very high satisfaction in working hard and receiving income for that work. But when you're hitting up against a brick wall in your prosperity, here's what I want to get to. When you're hitting up against that brick wall, even if you're not on the verge of bankruptcy, let's just say you've reached a certain level and you want to go higher in your financial abundance or even your relationship abundance, your health. The last thing you want to do is deny yourself true joy and pleasure. Think about that for a minute. You're working so hard all the time. If you are doing that and you start taking on overtime, which is fine to a point, but let's say you just start working and working to earn money, or it could also be you're working and working to have better health. You're just working at it so much all the time. When what you're trying to achieve becomes work, quote unquote, in the negative sense of that word, your psychic energies are depleted, your vitality on a spiritual psychic level, on an etheric level is lowered. Your whole energy matrix just starts to deplete. And the thing is, if you're trying to attract abundance, you need a strong energy field, a strong energy matrix. If you're trying to attract love, you need that strong, loving energy matrix. You see where I'm getting at here? So the answer is not to work yourself to death, even if the issue is finances. The answer may be to take on some overtime to start a side business, and I've been known to recommend that to people from time to time. But you mustn't cut out the activities and things that feed you. For example, it's very important, if you are working to achieve these higher levels of abundance on any level, or just to make a breakthrough, it's very important that you do not cut out your meditation time. It's very important that you keep that time for plugging into spirit and connecting. Because you're going to see you can only go so far on your own efforts without connecting into your higher self or the higher planes, and you need meditation to do that. So if anything, you might want to increase your meditation time just a little. It depends on how much you're already doing it. And listen, you're probably not going to achieve financial prosperity if all you do is meditate 8 hours a day or even 3 hours a day. You are going to have to go out into the world and do some kind of service some way or the other. And actually the same thing is true with love. If all you do is sit in a room, locked up, meditate, you might bring somebody into your sphere, but there is action required on your part. Okay, so don't think there isn't. And what I'm saying is that meditation is an important action. So if you are stuck financially, look at, are you meditating at least 15 minutes a day? I really think 15 minutes a day is enough. It can be a game changer, a life changer for many people. So start with that if you haven't done that. Actually, if you haven't done any meditation, that's going to be awfully long seeming to you. So you may just want to start with 5 minutes and work up to 15 minutes. And ideally, you might want to do 2 15-minute sessions a day. Now, that's up to you. Of course, it's all up to you. I'm just telling you what might actually work for you to manifest more prosperity. So, number one, do not give up your meditations. And even if you are meditating on making your aura more attracted to more abundance, then do that. And number two, do not give up your physical exercise. Because here's the thing, especially when it comes to financial prosperity, money, this is a form of spiritual warriorhood. And the warrior needs to train. It's a mental and physical discipline. Your physical body needs to stay strong so that you can earn your living or do whatever you need to do to be ready to receive the wealth when it comes flowing in. So listen, if you're sitting around on the couch eating potato chips all the time and you're not walking or doing yoga or swimming or martial arts training or running or aerobics or dance or whatever, that's got to stop, okay? That's just got to stop. You need to get a little something going on. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be aerobic or hardcore. You decide on that. I will say that the harder forms of exercise are excellent training to prepare our auras to receive greater abundance on all levels. But then people can get carried away with that too. So I really maybe would recommend more for most people of the middle path of yoga or Tai Chi, Qigong, these kinds of energy works, any kind of really physical movement that combines breathing with stretching and movement. Dance is a sacred energy expanding art form all of itself. So even if you don't go to dance classes, just dance and you will see what I mean. So these kinds of activities keep your aura strong and prime it for abundance on all levels, for sure. So don't give up those practices. Take over time if you need to, start another business, but you must allow yourself time for these daily practices I'm talking about. You could do some exercise and meditate in a half hour a day. I think ideally it'd be great if you give yourself an hour a day combined for both those practices. I mean, you could do more, but I understand if you're out there hustling, making a living, maybe you're not going to be able to find that time, but somewhere between that 30 minutes to an hour a day, that would be sufficient for helping you to break through to that next level, whatever that means to you. So don't give up those practices, and you certainly need sleep, but I will say this, when I'm inspired, when I'm really connected in, when I'm meditating regularly, when I'm doing my meditation, and eating halfway decently, and just doing work that I love, I don't need quite as much sleep usually. But then a lot of that depends on the time of the year. For example, I need more sleep in the winter than in the summer. Hormone cycles, and if you're a woman, you know exactly what I'm talking about, or some of you will at least. If it's a factor for you, you will know that during certain times of the month you need more sleep. So just honor those rhythms. You can't give that up, because if you destroy yourself in the pursuit of abundance on any level, then how are you going to receive it? Think about it. So that's some good general advice. And then the other thing is, make sure that you're doing every day, if possible. I mean, every day, and if not possible every day, most days. Okay, I'm just going to say most days. You need to be participating in some activity that amplifies and enhances your joy. Okay, because joy is a magnet to abundance. Misery is not a magnet to abundance. Okay, I don't know how to put it more plainly than that. But when we're in the zone, when we are in our joy, when we allow ourselves time for that, and yes, when we spend a little bit of money on that too, that draws more wealth to us. I'm not saying to go into impulse buying and get into great debt pursuing your joy. There has to be a balance between all of this and using your logic and your common sense. But it needn't necessarily cost a whole lot of money to pursue your joy, and everyone should have a joy fund or a learning fund. I mean, your percent of your income should go back to those activities that feed you. And if you'll do that, I'm not even telling you what percent, you can make up your own number here. Some people would say 10%. I think even if it's as small as 1%, it can make a difference. So that's money that you set aside for pursuing your joyous activities. And it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it is nurturing and uplifting, and obviously not something negative like a drug addiction. That doesn't really count. That's not joy, that's self-torture. Okay? But if your joy is, say you like to put on makeup. I mean, that's obviously not my big joy. I do like lipstick, but I'm not talented in that way. But I have friends that is their joy. They like to put on makeup and experiment with new looks. Then some of your income should be set aside for purchasing new makeup. If your joy is working on motorcycles or cars, some of your income should be set aside for that. If your joy is travel, I know that's an expensive one, but sometimes, but at least a little bit of your income should be set aside for that. If your joy is learning, like mine, I mean, I love to learn about all kinds of things. So I always have money to take classes or buy online programs. Always. I just make sure that I have a little set aside. And it's not an extra, it's a necessity. Because here's the thing. I hope you watched long enough to get to this part. When you have a little bit of money set aside to invest in your own joy, and a little bit of time. In other words, when you say, I will take the time to do this, and I will take the money to do this, this creates within you a feeling of expansiveness, and this signals to the universe that you are big. You are a big player, and you need big abundance for your dreams. And that signal going out brings more money. It brings more time in. I mean, I know you're thinking, how can you get more time? Somehow you can. Somehow the laws of time can bend when we do what we enjoy and what we love. So when you say this is important and you make the time and a little bit of money for it, you don't neglect that, then the universe keeps bringing you that extra in that you need, and it will grow too. The more you keep doing what you truly enjoy and you love all the different things, and especially the main one or two things, the more you'll see that the good stuff starts coming in. But when you really neglect yourself, I'm not talking about when you decide to sacrifice or give a gift for another. That's another discussion for another time. But when you're just really punishing yourself and pushing yourself and you're not nurturing yourself, you're shutting off the tap of abundance. You're just shutting it down. And in fact, things will not get better if you do that. They will get worse, okay? Which I think is what has happened with my client that I mentioned earlier, who's really struggling right now. And, even if you were in a situation, say, where you had to declare bankruptcy or take on a second or third job, I mean, isn't it going to make it better if you leave a little bit of time for your own nurturing and your well-being and your happiness? I mean, you'll just be able to do that second job better. You'll be able to earn more money at it. You'll be able to perform better. Thinking clearly is important too if you are dealing with a debt type situation. I just want to say that. Heck, if you're dealing with any kind of perceived lack in your life, if you perceive that you are lacking in companionship or friendship, you still need to take care of you a little bit. Now, you may need to take other steps, and perhaps I'll do other videos about the specific topics. But for now, just understand, yes, you need to balance what I'm saying here with other actions, of course. But the general foundation of your wealth is going to be how much you value you and how much you value allowing yourself to have the feeling of abundance in your day-to-day experience. So bring that consciousness in and do things you enjoy. And listen, if you have to do a bunch of stuff you don't enjoy, then find a way to change your attitude about it. Find a way to concentrate on the parts of it that you can enjoy, even if it's just, hey, I'm grateful I'm doing this instead of being dead. Okay? That's a start. That's a start. So anyway, thank you for joining me for Tea Time in the Garden. And I want to wish you all many, many blessings and much prosperity. Love to you all. And until next time, bright blessings.